Today, I want to take an objective look at what has happened in the Middle East since October 7th with Hamas and the state of Israel. What are the stated goals on both sides and who are accomplishing their goals the most effectively? In other words, who is winning? I'm Ben, and this is the Israel Guys. Welcome back to the Israel Guys, where we believe that in a world of Jew hatred and anti-Israel propaganda, you should have a direct connection to the land and people of Israel. Guys, as you know, Hamas launched a surprise attack on Israel on October 7th. Israel responded immediately with massive airstrikes on Gaza and an intensive ground invasion. So far, here are the stated goals of both sides. Israel's stated goals are to bring the hostages home, including 5 American hostages, eliminate Hamas's threat capacity, and bring peace to their southern region. On the other hand, Hamas's stated goals are to free Palestine, or Israel, from the river to the sea, free Al-Aqsa, or the Temple Mount, from Israeli control, repeat the October 7th massacre again and again, creating a continual state of war against Israel. Let's go through these goals in detail. In regards to the hostages, Israel has brought home over 100 so far. Sadly, a number of the remaining hostages are thought to be now dead, leaving somewhere around 50 to 80 left to be rescued. Israel's operators have been working night and day in this continued effort, but this is nearly an impossible task. Hamas has hundreds of kilometers of tunnels where they can move hostages wherever they want. They also have direct access into Egypt via tunnels, meaning all the hostages may not even be in Gaza at all anymore. Hamas is also working with and largely enabled by the civilian population of Gaza, making operations by the IDF insanely difficult in today's modern moral war landscape. Even though negotiations for the hostages are ongoing overall, I'm going to have to rank this goal as not a failure, but also not as a success. In regard to Israel's goal to eliminate Hamas's threat capacity, over the last 10 months, the IDF have swept Gaza from north to south. They have destroyed somewhere around 250 kilometers of tunnels. They've killed or captured over 14,000 Hamas terrorists. They have eliminated over half of the senior Hamas leadership, including many in the top levels of military command. The influx of rockets fired from Gaza has been slowed down to a sporadic trickle. While Israel has a long way to go in completely subduing Hamas, it seems like they are well on their way to accomplishing this goal. The recent assassinations of top leadership in Hamas and Hezbollah shows that Israel is not backing down. I'm going to mark this goal as a success. In regard to bringing peace to Israel's southern region, this has been accomplished. Like I said earlier, the rocket threat from Gaza has been reduced to almost non-existent. It seems like Hamas is completely on the defense and doesn't have the capacity to run raids over the border anymore. As of this moment, it seems like this goal has been achieved. I'm going to mark this one as a success. Unfortunately, though, this success has come at a cost. Over 600 IDF soldiers have sacrificed their lives defending Israel from the evil forces of Hamas and Hezbollah since October 7th. Their families are now shattered, their wives are now widows, and their children are left without fathers. Think of Hadass Lowenstern, whose husband Elisha fell in battle, leaving her to care for their 6 young children, including a baby, all on her own. Or consider Noria Swede, whose husband Bechor heroically fought terrorists with his bare hands near Gaza before losing his life. These IDF widows have lost everything. As they mourn for their husbands, they are also struggling to meet basic needs without their family's provider. They cannot abandon them. Their husbands gave their lives to protect Israel and the free world from terror. Now we must protect their families who have sacrificed so much. Every dollar raised goes towards essential expenses like food, utilities, and clothing. Please give generously. Click the link below to support the heroic widows and orphans of the fallen IDF soldiers. And now onto the Palestinian side. And yes, I feel free to use Palestinian and Hamas interchangeably. We don't say the German army started World War II, it was Germany. We don't say the Islamic Revolutionary Guard is the largest sponsor of global terror, it's Iran. When Palestinians voted in both the Palestinian Authority and Hamas as terrorist governments who then went on to commit mass atrocities, the people do not get a free pass. They knew who they were voting for, and they continually enable the terror today. In regard to Hamas's stated goal of freeing Palestine, or Israel, from the river to the sea, the Palestinians have made no permanent territorial gains since the beginning of the war. In fact, they have lost much ground in Gaza with the Philadelphia corridor and the loss of control of the border with Egypt. but in a way, they have moved one step closer to this goal. Across the world, the Palestinians have gained significant ground in public sympathy. Across Europe and America, we have had numerous riots and demonstrations taking place on behalf of the Palestinians with the cooperation of governing bodies. We've had ongoing campus occupations threatening our institutions or higher education. While Israel enjoyed some measure of public sympathy after October 7th, Hamas's propaganda team has been in overdrive since then, flooding the internet with pictures, real, fake, or staged, of injured children, blown up hospitals, and videos showing countless body bags. For the most part, Western media swallowed the information without so much as a sniff to see if it was authentic. Almost no one has bothered to investigate whether the Hamas-controlled Ministry of Health has been inflating their own numbers of civilian casualties, even though they would have great incentive to do so. No one bothered to point out that the same ministry has been for years blurring the line intentionally between civilian and terrorist death count data. This means that Hamas's stated goal has both succeeded and failed. Although the backing of the international community of useful idiots is very valuable, so I'm going to rank this goal as a partial failure. In regard to their stated goal of winning back the Temple Mount, Hamas appears to be losing ground. You will remember that before Hamas started this war, the Temple Mount conditions greatly favored the Palestinians. Palestinians in Jerusalem have had complete and open access to the Temple Mount nearly any time of the day or night. They are free to roam the Mount, pray, play soccer, go to school, or do anything they want on the Temple Mount. Jews and Christians, however, were highly restricted. They were only allowed on the Temple Mount for a few hours a day after going through tight security. They aren't allowed to roam wherever they want. They're not allowed to bring up religious or national symbols like Bibles or Israeli flags. They aren't allowed to pray or move their lips in prayer, read psalms from their phones, or bow down in worship. Since the war, however, the status quo remains. If anything, Jews are a little bit freer in their movements on the Temple Mount, with open prayer and psalm reading becoming more of a common occurrence. Also, since the war, some in positions of power around the world have come to see the delusion of the idea of a Palestinian state in general and the danger it would pose to the state of Israel. In an interview with Time magazine back in May, former President Donald Trump had this to say: "Most people thought it was going to be a two-state solution. I'm not sure a two-state solution anymore is going to work." The jury is still out on this one, but overall I'd say that Hamas has not accomplished this goal and is unlikely to do so in this round of hostilities. I'd like to mark this one as a failure. In regard to Hamas's goal of repeating the October 7th massacre, thank God they've not been successful in this regard at all. Several months ago, a group of Hamas terrorists did enter Israel using a tunnel with the intention of committing a murderous raid. They were very quickly detected by security forces and eliminated. Again, thank God. Other than that, the IDF has kept the fight in their neighborhoods in Gaza. Thankfully, Hamas has completely failed in this stated goal. In regard to Hamas's goal of creating a perpetual state of war against Israel, as of right now, they are succeeding. Hezbollah in the north has fired thousands of rockets at Israel. Thankfully, most of these have been intercepted by the Iron Dome, but some have slipped through, causing untold tragedy. In some ways, even though the Iron Dome provides security for Israel, it does so at the expense of creating an illusion of safety. In the news, we hear of a barrage of rockets being fired, but no casualties because of the Iron Dome. This creates a sense that the attacks aren't so bad, and that living through them is just a normal part of daily life for Israelis. The world is numb to the severity of the situation of the actual attack and lashes out at Israel when they respond with force against these threats. What other country would tolerate thousands of rockets being fired at it? Lebanon deserves to be bombed back to the Stone Age. Instead, what do we see? Arrest warrants on the international stage for Bibi Netanyahu and other top government officials inside of Israel. Israel accused of war crimes at every turn. Lies and propaganda spread left and right. But the direct conflict with Hamas isn't the only war that Israel is fighting. There's also an internal battle raging inside Judea and Samaria, or the West Bank. On top of this, the Houthis have declared war on Israel and have launched hundreds of UAVs, drones, and missiles at Israel. Oddly, the international community has not held Yemen accountable for its actions. Very little has been done. There's also the bigger threat of Iran, who for the first time in recent history has launched a direct attack against the state of Israel. Again, the international community brushed it off as if it was a normal thing to happen and did not respond. We are very clearly seeing history repeat itself over and over again. World War II happened largely because the Allies did not want another war and went out of their way to avoid any confrontation with Germany. We know what happened in that case. Iran is simply waiting until they are ready, waiting until all their cards fall into place before coming good on their promise to eliminate Israel and the West. Iran has been in violation of the nuclear deal that Obama signed, yet the world does nothing. How many nukes does Iran need to launch before the world wakes from their slumber? So as to the question, who is winning the war so far? Thank God Israel is. although sadly they have not entirely succeeded in bringing all of their loved ones home from Gaza. Other than garnering public sympathy, neither Hamas nor any of their allies have accomplished any of their stated goals in this war so far. Please continue to pray for Israel and their leaders and God's protection for the nation of Israel. Guys, don't forget to consider supporting Israel's widows and orphans of the IDF. The link is down in the description below. Also, don't forget to interact in the comments. Let me know what you think down below. I love interacting with you there. As always, stop listening to the lies and propaganda and connect with the truth of what is happening in Israel.